Hello, here we are once again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are exploring, many of you already know his philosophy through these videos, his disillusionism. And in particular, we are trying to understand the misalgic theory about human behavior as avoidance of suffering, as aversion to suffering. And also, as you know, for, I'd say, more than 2 years now, we've been trying to illustrate these concepts, these theories, with facts, with everyday life. We covered many definitions, but also many newsworthy happenings like the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in the Ukraine. And today we are going to focus on a rather lighter issue, but still a pressing one these days, which is the travel fever that everyone, I guess, has seen, especially around Europe and the Northern Hemisphere, coinciding with the summer and the holidays. But everyone seems to be taking a plane. Everyone seems trying to get somewhere. And we are going to try and shed some light on these events, of course, from a philosophical point of view.
Well, let's take the example that everybody knows about, the new fever. In German it's called Reise fever, the fever of traveling, which is it's a concept that has 50, 70, 80 years, has to do even when people went on ships and people who got into ships together becoming ship brothers. It was the whole thing was Reise fever. And what we are talking about now is 71% of the Europeans have said that they are going to take a vacations abroad.
Wow.
July, August. That's it. During the next 2 months, we are now in July, August. And we know that from the United States too. We know that airports are being a disaster. Of course, people say, well, there is less employees. Not less employees. There's much more people going on vacation, much more people flying. Even if the tickets went up in price, gas has gone so much high that people take planes even for medium distance vacations. That we know from the US, and in Europe also the price of gas is just crazy, very, very high. It's $2.50 a liter, which means something like $10 a gallon. So it's really expensive. So people are really taking a plane. That would be the explanation why airports are exploding. And would that explain also 71% of the people going on vacation? Not really. So what is behind this? So first of all, in disillusionism, the idea is that our life is really an averting of suffering journey. We just try to get by without suffering as little as possible. So which is the most popular, not really popular, which is the most common, common and popular today became synonyms and they're not. What is the most common fear? The most common suffering? Fear. So which fear are we talking about? Well, one of the issues that people used to say is it's vengeance. They were 2 years, they were stuck in their homes. Now they want to go on a vacation. So it's the vengeance tourism. It doesn't sound like a good enough explanation. So let's think about which fear we're talking about. And it's probably FOMO. If you haven't heard what FOMO means, it means fear of missing out. It's an acronym. And fear of missing out means that I am afraid of something that will happen. I will not participate, and then I will regret it. It's a chain of feelings, yes, all of them negative, and all of them have to do with the fact that we were still be part of a pack. We were a pack of hominids, and that hasn't gone anywhere. We still want to be together. We still want to do what the others people do. We have an interesting video about imitation. So here you have fear of missing out, imitation in progress. If the other guy goes, I go myself. What do you mean? Well, the guy who went once every 3 years for a vacation suddenly is desperate and goes immediately. He has to go maybe twice in a year. Then I will imitate. Then there's the second part in FOMO, and then the third part has to do with the tendency of being with somebody. But Florencio, tell me what you think about this.
I of course follow the basic tenet of misalgia. We are running away from suffering, and we are usually running away from fear of suffering, which is suffering in itself, right? It's not actual pain that we avoid, it's just fear that drives our behavior. In this case, what you're describing, I think it's an interesting loop. What you're saying is, I'm afraid if I don't go, then I will wish I was there. But still, it's fear. And as such, it's suffering. And of course, I get the gregarious side of the matter. We are driven to be together. But why holidays in particular? Why traveling in particular? Why abroad in particular? I mean, there are many, many other ways of being together, of getting together. This is a strange way, to say the least, which consists in going on a plane and getting somewhere abroad in order not to miss out, in order not to confront the fear of missing out. So I'd say my first question is, why holidays of all other alternatives?
Well, I think history, and it's not very old history, history is behind this story. I think the answer, part of the answer, because then you have FOMO, and now you have this issue. We were stuck 2 years in our houses, more or less, a little bit more, a little bit less. During those 2 years, we couldn't go on vacation. Not only we couldn't go on vacation, we stayed home. So what did we do at home? Well, we got money. Yeah, they send the money, or the free money that now we're paying, of course, inflation, the price of the grain, of course. All that has to do with our binge. So we binging with money, and what you can binge in your pajamas, not clothes, really. Not going to Paris, not. So you bought things, a new television, a computer, a guitar, a bicycle, I don't know. So you have all the things you wanted to have, you have them already. So before the pandemic, you say, I wish I had a guitar, but it's a lot of money. But then you bought a guitar. Now you have a guitar. But guitar is to stay home. Television is to stay home. Washing machine is to stay home. Now you are liberated. Now you're free. So the first, I think the most interesting thing happened to restaurants. People suddenly, since you could eat out, and I mean outside, yes, not outdoors, not inside. People went like crazy to restaurants and cafes. Even it was freezing. I remember seeing in London people freezing 3 degrees under zero, all dressed like this with a glass of beer. They were happy as hell. You remember? It was
shivering,
shivering, but they were suddenly, And so once the gates opened, not because COVID went anywhere, because COVID is still there, but because people decided that's it. The government decided that's it. Everybody wanted to be re-elected. Yes, France, Macron, Germany, everybody wanted to be re-elected. So they say, okay, you go out. Now everybody, the gates went open for everybody. So now everybody wanted to go out. Not only go out, they also wanted to be with people. Restaurants, the food in restaurants was never an issue after the COVID, because people could either cook at home and they could see 500 videos of YouTube how to make the perfect chicken korma or the croissant, or they could phone, and that was very common. So you could really do 180 meals around the world because you stay home and you could eat everything, and people even got fatter. And so restaurants was to be out, to be with somebody again, going again to the pack, to stay together, the feeling of being together, the zusammen, all together, yes? That thing of together. So people go to choirs and they want to be together. I think that the fact that objects became démodé and experiences became the norm, that those two factors added to this 71% of Europeans going out on vacation. And those were the 71s who knew that they're going on vacation. I am sure there is another 10% that is now deciding to go on vacation. Maybe after this video, even more.
No, seriously, just because they heard 71% of the population are going, if you are correct, 10% at least will add themselves just out of imitation and fear of missing out, just to follow in the trend. And that will collapse even more airports around Europe. But I absolutely get the transition, especially in the last few years, from, I would say, acquiring objects to acquiring experiences. I think we all partook in this, as you were speaking about the silly stuff we bought while we were locked down. I have to confess, I got a new sofa during the pandemic, something I would never have done. So I have my sofa here, and I'll never buy another sofa. That money, if I can buy it again, it will go to experiences, as you say. But we've also discovered, especially during the pandemic, how we could enjoy some of those experiences through the screen, online, without actually being there. We even had a video on sexual relationships that were having place over the internet. And I think we all know that many of these possibilities, visiting a museum, looking at how people walk on the streets of Tokyo, whatever we used to have at the other end of a plane trip, is something we can now cover over the internet through YouTube or through other platforms. So my question is why this isn't working now, why people are still trying to get on a plane and be before the other objects and the other people, even if it's so trying, even if it's at such a high expense and cost, as we have been seeing.
Well, when you go to a movie, you get involved with the movie sometimes, emotionally sometimes, and even physically. Yes, if somebody is doing suddenly this, you see your fist coming up to you, especially in 3D or in 4D, that you get wet or I don't know, something. The fantastic thing about it is that you never get hit. You don't come out with your
bruised
in your face
with a black eye,
or yes, black eye, or covered in salt water because of the tsunami. That doesn't happen. That distance and that it's a game of close and far. Yes, distance. You can modulate it. You can be as much inside and as much outside as you want. I have a friend that I don't go with him anymore to the movies because he all the time says, "Look at the camera, how he's pointing to that." I don't want to see the camera. I want to see the movie. Yes, I know there is a camera, but I want to ignore that camera. That game of it's never too close, and it's never close enough. So presence, the freshness of the moment, that is a captivating thing that we have not been able yet to win ourselves from. So it doesn't matter how digital is our life and how excellent are the reproductions we see. Still, I can give you, even in art, people go to the Louvre to see La Gioconda, the Mona Lisa.
To stand before the original one, yeah.
And which is a little piece. I mean, it's really, really disappointing. It's one of the things that you can do with that is really disappointing. But you have it in every size you want. Since you are not an expert in art, you wouldn't differentiate between one and the other. They're all the same. So what happened is that you are now there, and the being there means many things. Means being there, and the feeling of the freshness of the moment, of the thickness of the moment. Yes, That's being there, and being there to be able to tell somebody else to be there. Of course, you don't have to be there to tell somebody. You can say, I've been to Paris, never been to Paris. So you make a selfie, the whole selfie thing is to show each other. Remember FOMO. FOMO, for the issue of FOMO is much beyond the whole story of vacations. FOMO is a problem that we'll talk about it when we talk about social networks again, but it has to do with creating a fear that was not there. But here, this is a situation in which we all have a feeling of that we need to be there and to tell that somebody to be there. And here comes the most important point to me, is that we were stuck 2 years because of the pandemic, but that showed us that this can happen again. So if I wanted to go, so if my cousin went to Paris, I'm going 2 years now. This year, I prefer to stay home. I have to fix my roof. No. My roof, I always have time to fix. I go there now. So everybody goes now because you don't know what will happen next year. And in fact, we are in the midst, of course, of the pandemic. It hasn't gone anywhere. And we just decided to ignore the whole thing and get all sick with no results because there is no, by the way, there is no herd immunity because the virus keep mutating and we keep getting again and again and again. But that's another story. The important thing is we have decided it's now or never. And you remember the song, no? It's now or never. It's now or never. That's it. The feeling is it's now or never. And it has now or never, and I have to be there, and I have to be, and I have a list. I have a laundry list, yes? It's Paris, Athens, Moscow, no. Moscow, you have to wait a couple of years. I don't think Moscow is a good place to go. But I think it's that. Do you agree, Florencio?
Yeah. So we are past our usual time, but I think it's interesting to recap a bit on all the multiple factors that might be contributing to this. I get what you say about the aura of uniqueness that being present, being before something has. Of course, I get the social prestige that comes with it, if you can tell it to other, if you can show it to other, and the fear of missing out on that, whatever it is that everyone else is doing. And it's an interesting issue in itself, the change in our habits of consumption, that we are buying less stuff and spending more in this type of experiences. But we're out of time. I just wanted you to wrap up, and I think it's clear, but it's a wide range of possibilities we've been covering around this example.
Again, this is not one of those things that we know what are the reasons. There is one reason. In fact, we're talking about 71% of the population. I'm sure people have different reasons.
Tens of millions of people. Yes.
Yes, but again, the main ones are the ones that we covered. The FOMO, yes, the fear of missing out, the thickness of the moment, that feeling of being there, the objects versus experiences, a shift because we had too many objects, and now we want the experiences. The price of the gas in some of the places. I mean, we have to think about that, and it's now or never. It's now or never.
Yeah, the apocalyptic thing there. Yeah.
But you can't blame them. Nobody expected that we will have such a total planetary experience. We all had it at the same time. I never get tired of saying this. We lived through an incredible experience. Of course, not a nice one, mind you, but an incredible experience. We all experienced something nobody ever experienced, ever. But that told us it can happen again.
Amazing. Thank you very much. We'll see each other next time.
See you next time.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.